It appears I've been called upon by the Demon Lord. It is my time for a video. Couldn't hurt to join.
Enji Todoroki, the #1 hero in My Hero Academia. From his not-so-humble beginnings being portrayed as a large and in charge and more of tyrannical person rather than an actual hero, to his beautiful transformation and evolution after his fight with the Hayanomu, Endeavor's impact on My Hero Academia proves one thing, that anybody can change, and that anybody can be redeemed. Well, some villains probably can't, but even so. Oh, and completely off topic, this guy pairs himself with some really crazy people like this driver.
Oh great! The brat's not happy with his free ride! Zoons! I guess it's true that success changes a man!
Zooms? What the heck is that?
Well, how about we throw that question Endeavor's way? Hey Endeavor, what does zooms mean?
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea.
Damn, well aren't you a wonderful ray of sunshine? Anyways, let's get to work. We don't have all day.
I told him to meet me out here, but where's... Oh, there he is.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Well, looks like I gotta make another one. Ray, we're Oh, there's Shoto.
Anyways, finally enough lollygagging, let's get down to business. Endeavor is a very, very powerful character in this game. However, he suffers from, well, being what he is, which is honestly a glass cannon, regardless of his 350 HP. Being all output, no input, which is basically how I explain a glass cannon, in a meta like this where characters can just one-shot you, is not great. Like, especially with this character, you want to only do damage, but try and not get hurt yourself. Now, I will tell you this, on the surface, this character is actually pretty simple. Though, as you play him, you'll begin to see that he has a couple of complexities about him, which I'm going to try and go over all in today's video. Alright, now let's start off with his first skill, Burning Ray. This continuous long-range skill does a lot of damage to opponents in multiple ticks. However, you have to hit all the ticks in order to do all the damage. Just tapping this move like it's your average beamer alpha will consume all your ammo really quickly and do minimal damage. So ensure you hold it to get the maximum down damage possible. Also from the ground, you can press special action into hover, which is just jumping again, to use your alpha with minimal backlash from opponents. Or if you have space hop, which I'd argue is Endeavor's best tuning, you don't even need to use your special action jump in order to get that height and to start hovering. Also, if you are somehow close enough, you can do an air melee into an alpha for some reason. Obviously, this would be wildly impractical in a formal sense, but good to know, I guess, for whatever situation you may be in. Though there is a much better variation of this combo I'll get to later. Additionally, one important thing to remember about this move is that you want to use it at a distance. Do not be close to your opponent when doing this move. You will be punished heavily because you are very open while using it. Next up, we have Beta, Searing Arrow, a two-piece explosion attack that does an initial tick and then an explosion tick immediately afterwards. This spear will stick to any surface and will explode after a little bit of time, just as usual. However, this is the most complex part of this kit, and I will go into explaining it right now. See, if I throw this spear at this wall, it will explode in the direction that the wall is facing. And this is what I like to call a spear setup, and it can make for multiple hits and also some really decent kills. Now, this seems pretty easy. However, it gets a bit complex when you take into account slope and also direction of objects. I'm going to use this car as an example. Regardless of which point you throw it on the car, it's going to change direction based on the slope and the angle of each surface. Even if I was a long distance away, throwing it the bait at this door will make it go straight in one direction. And if I fired at the front of the car, I said if I fired at the front, it's going to have an angle because of the direction that the front of the car is facing. And if I fire at the back of the car, it is going to have a very minor angle because of the direction it's facing. And obviously, if I throw it on top of the car, it's going to go straight up because there's no angle. Spear setups are extraordinarily reliant on the environment around you to be used at their maximum potential. This is why a lot of good Endeavor players love enclosed spaces, because it's really tight and it near guarantees they hit you. Quickly lining up your bait on the right wall or at the right angle can really make a difference in some situations. However, that doesn't mean don't use the spear normally, because each bit of the spear is useful in its own way. And naturally, knowing which one to do in which scenario can either make or break you. Oh, and another thing, do not underestimate the range of these spears. As long as you can see it hits a surface, you can throw it and it will land there. Oh, and remember that up close combo I was talking about earlier? No, that wasn't it. Sorry. That's a variation of it, but I don't even get it right here either. It's meant to be Air Melee 1 Beta, not Air Melee 1-2 Beta. And lastly, beta can be used defensively by sticking it to a wall or a floor for your opponents to run right into. Also, this move has the capability of stopping grabs in their tracks because of its 500 down power with the combined ticks, or at least counteract armored moves with that high down power. This can let you reposition and start going on the offensive again. And now for Endeavor's most infamous skill, Prominence Burn. This AoE attack can go through walls and can be moved by rotating your screen, doing a lot of damage to a number of enemies without them being able to do anything, as long as you're smart about it. While yes, this move can 100% be used outdoors, it makes you extraordinarily vulnerable to everything else around you, so I would not recommend doing so unless you are trying to finish a kill, or if you really have your opponent pinned down. Quickly though, before we go on to the next thing, there are a couple setups you can do in a Prominence Burn, but they only work on GP. You get a lot less potential out of it. This is mostly because Prominence Burn is meant to finish people or flush a place out by massive intimidation factor. Also, speaking of finishing people, if you can help it, you want this move to be used primarily for finishing people. Using this ability as a beamer move will get you killed, I guarantee it. And now finally, Endeavor's special action is Flight. With 3 different variations, this move can seem overwhelming on the surface, however, it really isn't once used in practice. By tapping special action on the ground or in midair, you can get a burst of upwards movement that can give you the high ground.
It's over, Shoto. I have the high ground.
I suck at this game, okay? Stop being so mean! Anyways, I've already displayed what hover can do, so let's get on to the third variation, which is forward flight. By tapping and holding sprint, or by just toggling it with auto sprint, you can move midair by flying. Also, by tapping melee in conjunction with the start of your flight, you get a burst of momentum that can give you movement or repositioning. Sorry, not repositioning, redirecting. You can use it to redirect yourself midair. The startup of flight costs 10%, and every single time you do this tech, you also take another 10% down, which honestly is not very effective for movement. However, if you really need to change your position and you really need to go a different way, then definitely go for it. Also, doing this tech near the ground is actually how you get this optimal combo I was trying to show you earlier. It took forever. Right, back down to business. Now, there's a couple things you can do in this flight. First, you can rain down betas and do a lot of damage to opponents below you, or you can do alpha, which is less optimal, I'd say, and also much more demanding. Why do I say this is less optimal? Well, the thing is, if your opponent is in one spot, then your flight is going to end because your alpha is demanding you to look at them. You see, if you rotate your character about 90 degrees while firing your alpha, or anything really, Endeavor stops flying. This is actually true for a number of flying characters. The only reason you'd want to do forward flight with alpha is if you're chasing somebody, but that doesn't happen very often, which kind of sucks. I really enjoy those situations. Oh, and just so you know I'm not lying about any move, here's a demonstration of beta with this situation. Don't ask me why this is a thing. I'm not quite sure myself, but I have a theory. Maybe it's because the devs don't want you automatically being able to turn around because your character faces where you're shooting it. So final thoughts on NG Todoroki. Being as prominent as he is,
Well, knee slapper.
he's really picked on in a meta like this where everything is I don't know, like gonna just kill you. A character who's meant to just attack and not receive is going to suffer naturally. Even so, just play your cards right, stick near indoor areas, and try and stay away from all the Nagants, and you should be fine. As long as there's no like PC, like sweat playing Nagan or something, you should be alright. And console players, definitely keep aim assist on with this character. His alpha's impossible to land without it.
Now, one last thing before we go.
Say the line, Bart!
Indeed I shall say the line.
Happy New Year, one and all. And let's have another great year on the shit game My Hero Ultra Rumble.